Good evening, everyone. I'm Leah Cooper with your JCN News for this Friday, August 9th. The unemployment rate back to single digits as more people are counted among the workforce at the time of the most recent labor survey. In this report, our BJ McDermott tells us more about what statisticians account for the overall decrease.
Results of the most recent labor survey are in, and based on preliminary figures, statisticians have compiled 4,330 more people are working, at least up to the time of the May 2018 labor force survey. As lead statistician Cipriana Winter explained during Friday's briefing, this puts the jobless rate at 9.5%, down from the 10.7% recorded last November.
Two of the three most populated islands that were surveyed experienced decreases in their unemployment rates, and one experienced an increase. At the time of the survey, the rate in New Providence was 9.4% and in Grand Bahama 10.9%. On the other hand, Abaco's unemployment rate increased from 7.7% in November to 9.3% in May.
Employment gains were said to be driven by private sector employees. This increased by 1.8% to 137,605 workers when compared to last November. The number of self-employed people remained stagnant, though, at 32,475.
The hotel and restaurant sector experienced the greatest increase since May of 2018, 24%, while the community, social, and personal service industry, which includes the police, the civil service, and domestic service, continued to be the country's largest employer in May 2019 and accounted for 35% of the workforce.
Meantime, the number of discouraged workers also saw an overall decline by 2%. That's 1% in New Providence and 5.4% in Grand Bahama. However, this number increased in Abaco by 7.3%. Reporting for JCN News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
The Ministry of Finance also chiming in on these preliminary results, saying that May 2019 labor force survey shows credible signs that the business sector is continuing to grow and strengthen, and confirms the positive momentum of the Bahamian economy. Finance Minister Peter Turnquest says Bahamians can feel encouraged by this positive news that unemployment improved significantly. This strong report, he says, is one of the most important indications that the policies of the government are working for the Bahamian people. In a release, the ministry said that since May of 2017, there has been a net increase in the number of employed persons by nearly 15,000 and a decline in the number of persons in the vulnerable employment segment of the labor force of 1,625. The fact that strong job growth took place even as the number of contractual and temporary jobs fell significantly is a sign that Bahamians are finding more permanent jobs, he says. Mr. Turnquest adds that while the government is pleased to see unemployment numbers trending down, it is the ambition of the government to accelerate growth and drive these numbers even lower. He says the government's not resting on its laurels for 1 second. You see, the goal is to secure stronger and more broad-based growth for the Bahamian economy that will result in increased job opportunities and economic benefits for Bahamians. He says the improvements in Grand Bahama in particular were significant as the number of discouraged workers fell by 5.4%. He said that in the November 2018 report, he observed a decrease in unemployment in Grand Bahama to 11.9 in May 2019. The trend has continued as unemployment in Grand Bahama dropped further to 10.9%. This is really positive news for Grand Bahama, he says, which has been no stranger to economic hardship. To support the economic rebound, the DPM says the government will continue efforts to stimulate the new private sector investment. He also wants to see the job growth in Grand Bahama reproduced across all of our family islands. The impasse over Morton Salt's industrial agreement continues, and this despite both sides making another attempt to hash things out. With the update, we go to a report from our Ariel Boleg.
Bahamas Industrial Manufacturers and Allied Workers Union lead negotiator Obie Ferguson were at the bargaining table with Morton's executives on Thursday. Speaking to our news team on the outcome of that meeting, Mr. Ferguson acknowledged the two sides are still having difficulties.
But we maintain that the salary of 1.5% increase in pay is not sufficient when the increases in the insurance is in excess of 5%. So that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. Therefore, we are continuing to pursue in that and some of the other related costs incurred on the worker. We figure that 1.5% certainly would not cut it.
Union President Jennifer Brown was hoping to finish up those talks on Friday, but it was a no-go due to scheduling conflicts. According to Mr. Brown, the two will meet next on September 30th to find a solution that appeases both the minister and Morton. Morton last month threatened to lock employees out of the plant if a happy medium on negotiations were not achieved within 15 days. They've been convinced, however, to hold off on those plans.
It's been nearly 2 months since the Bahamas Public Services Union and the government came to the table to negotiate a new industrial agreement. And according to Union President Jcntvnews Ferguson, the union hasn't heard anything from the government on the financial aspects of that deal. Take, for instance, workers at the Princess Margaret Hospital. According to Mr. Ferguson, a meeting was scheduled for today, but was postponed.
I am very concerned, and I am hearing little innuendos about the place that persons are trying to stall the negotiations. I heard it. I didn't pay any attention to it. There's some indications of some things that are causing me to lean towards the fact that may be what is happening.
The union president says he also had a meeting scheduled for Monday with the Prime Minister, and that was postponed. He appealed to those in authority to sit and meet with the union.
There are Bahamians out there who have the challenge of preparing their kids for going back to school, and they need relief, they need assistance, and so we're going to agitate, and we don't want to have to take any extreme measures that's going to affect the operation of the Public Hospitals Authority or the public service. And so we are appealing to those persons in authority, please. Our motto says reasoning together accomplishes. And so we want to be able to reason and arrive at a reasonable resolve so that these persons who are turning the wheels of the public service and the various organizations where members of the public are going to be impacted can receive some sort of relief and assistance in getting their children prepared for school.
Union members are seeking wage increases, a lump sum payment, and a salary review. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news was brought to you by Alive.